John here, guys, and today we're talking about the new Runcam Thumb 4K, the teeny tiny action camera. This new version that gives you a better lens, better processing, and most importantly, better resolution, all the way up to 4K. When this came out, they found it a little bit underwhelming. An action camera that's under 10 grams, that has no battery on board, that gets its battery supplied from your LiPo on your quad. What a concept! And it allows you to get HD footage on a teeny tiny little Cinewhoops. Whoops in general were all of a sudden turned into a Cinewhoop and racing quad. But is it better than the Runcam 5 4K? Is it better than the DJI Action 2? Is it better than a Hero? Is it better than a full-frame Sony camera, mirrorless, like this A7 III that I used to shoot most of my channel with? This is actually the best camera that I have in my setup. So why am I not shooting on it right now? Well, that's because for different scenarios, you use different cameras. I wanted a quick setup so I can get out here. Well, that's because for different scenarios, you use different cameras. I wanted a quick setup so I can get out here, shoot this footage, get back to the AC because it's 1,000 degrees here in Texas, and so you need different cameras for different scenarios. And that's why when these different style cameras come out and people are asking, is it better than a GoPro Hero? And of course the answer is no. But you need a different camera for different scenario. A golfer doesn't go out to play 18 holes with only one club. And in that same way, you need different things for different purposes. Now, anybody that says, is it better than a Hero? Is it better than a Session? Is it better than this, than that, than that? Your noob is showing, guys. Your noob is showing you're not coming off like a camera guy. Now, I realize not everybody in FPV wants to be a cinematographer, but you may want different things for different purposes. Every quad that you have may not be powerful enough to fly a full-size GoPro or a Red Komodo or whatever. So this is just another option that can go on your back that can give HD footage to a lot of other quads in other smaller spaces that might not have it before. In my Mayhem short film about the Mayhem team race, I was able to get HD footage of the track with the original thumb. That was footage that I wouldn't have had HD on without it, and I was also able to use that original thumb to get some HD footage out at International Open. There'll be a short film on that coming out pretty soon. So are you kind of getting what this is meant for? This has all the upgrades that you would have wanted, and most notably, like I said, these ND filters, and it comes with a little mounting system that makes it really nice and easy to mount on just about any tiny little quad like this. Now, this 2.5-inch unbreakable Cinewhoop by Fox here can actually carry a heavier camera, but when you do that, it's a little bit overweight and it doesn't fly necessarily the way you want to. By lightening the camera load this much, you can really get some nice footage. Or I can use the Runcam thumb mount that I made for the Open Racer and fly it on there. Why? Because the actual body size of this camera is the same as the original thumb, so all the same mounts will still work.
You can see it has a very similar footprint to the original. The original was a really nice way for under 20 grams to get HD 1080p footage onto almost any craft. But the image quality wasn't the best. It was slightly better than your DVR, but it left us wanting a little bit more. Weighs in at 9.8 grams. This weighs in at 16.4 grams. 6 extra grams, you get 4K footage. Now the lens does stick out a little bit more, but it has that same thin profile and USB on the side, meaning that it'll still fit in just about any mount. This Cinewhoop could actually carry a full-size GoPro, but it's gonna behave a little bit sluggish with that. With something that is this light, 16 grams, you're going to be able to do full freestyle maneuvers with this thing. Now, if you already have this set up with the little plug, this now has a 4-wire harness on here. What are the extra 2 wires for? Because the old one only had 2 wires, 5-volt and ground. The extra wires are for that you can actually wire this up to a TX-RX combination in order to connect this to a UART so that you could potentially arm it on a switch. Now, I don't think I'm actually going to do that because the way that it worked for me was powering it up and just hitting the record button worked plenty fine for me. 5-volt and then ground. So if you have a quad that is already set up to carry the old thumb, you can just use the new thumb. Just make sure that you put the harness on the bottom so that you have your red and black 5-volt ground connectors going to the bottom. You can also do 2.7K 60 FPS or 1440 60 or 1080 120 FPS. How do you select from those? If there's only one button, you go to the Runcam app, download that thing, and then it gives you a QR code on the screen that you then hold up to the camera, and then that is what will switch it out for you. They've evolved this product so quickly, and you actually have an available list of ND filters for it. There's an ND8, ND16, and ND32. Depending on how bright it is outside, you can slap one of these on, and these are really easy to disconnect. You just slightly turn it and it comes off. So you can really send this thing with a lot of confidence, knowing that a lens protector or an ND filter are probably going to be only a couple of bucks each, and you just slap it on and then boom, it's like sunglasses for your camera.
This thing was way better than I was expecting. I was expecting incremental improvement over the original Thumb. But the Thumb Pro really does kind of increase its abilities in every category. It feels like the bit rate is higher. It feels like not just the resolution, but also the clarity and the sharpness and the detail and the dynamic range and the contrast, all better across the board. Is it anywhere close to a Hero? Not even close, guys, not even close. But it's maybe now like 80% as good, 75 to 80% as good as like the Insta360 Go 2, for only about 30% of the price. So that's where this thing is. For anything that I would fly the Insta360 Go 2, I like this better because the workflow is easier. You just plug your USB in, get the footage, and you're off to go. You don't have to like convert it through some kind of weird app like you have to do with Insta360. So I actually like this better, and it costs less, it's lighter, it's easier, it's cheaper. Thanks, guys.